I present the King as he would have appeared in the year 1544, when he was aged 53 and married to his new and 6th wife. We hope that you enjoy what the King has to say. My loyal subjects, I'm often asked by those cheeky fellows, those saucy fellows, if I, as your sovereign lord and king, do have any regrets. Regrets? I have a few. I regret the stubbornness of my wife, Aragon. For when it was clear that God would not give me male children by her, it was her duty to stand aside, to allow me, the king, to marry again. There would not have been any need for any annulment or any schism with Rome, for there is precedent. Aragon was a most devout woman. I'm sure that when she did pass to the glory above, there was no need for her to reside in purgatory. She would have gone straight to the throne of grace. And thus, 'twas her duty to stand aside, to take off holy orders. By the very act of doing so, our marriage would have been put to an end. And then I, the king, would have been free to marry again for the better comfort of this mine realm, to secure an heir. For a king, as I have said many times, does require an heir. And so I do regret the stubborn Spanish cow. For all that has come since is her fault. I regret my wife, Boleyn. No king e'er did so much to marry the woman he loved. And yet within some 1,000 days, she, Anne of 1,000 days, did lose of her head. For she did play me false. Adultery, incest, treason! Yes, I regret my wife, Boleyn. And I do regret the early death of that most pure woman, the honest, the chastened, the loyal, the loving Jane Seymour. That wife that did give unto me that which I, as your king, did desireth of the most, a son, a prince, an heir, the Prince Edward, born in October of 1547. And within 12 days, it did please the Lord our God to gather unto him my most precious jewel, my wife, Jane. Oft, in my troubled times, I had said to the Lord our God for him to take from me my most precious jewel in exchange for a son. With Edward, my heir, and with Jane, my third wife, the Lord our God did take me at my word. Yes, I regret. I regret that foolishness. That foolishness that did allow me to embark upon my marriage to Cleves. I have recently spoken at length about this endeavour. England was in need of allies. For all of Catholic Europe was aligned against England, and thus, at the behest of my secretary, Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell, I did look out across Europe, and there he did point me towards Cleves, aye, a small country, but she's a member of the Schmelkit League, the Protestant League. Thus, a marriage to Cleves would frustrate the French and would infuriate the Emperor Charles, for there, in the very midst of his territories, he would have an ally to England. Ha! Ha! And thus, I did send Holbein, my artist, to Cleves, to paint portraits of the daughters of the Duke of Cleves, Anna of Cleves, and her sister. It was said that they were great beauties. Upon his return to my court, I did look at Holbein's work, and I did think, which shall I have? Whom shall I choose? And I did choose Anna of Cleves, for she did look delightful. A messenger was sent, and soon Anna did arrive in England. She was due to meet with me at my court, but my loyal subjects, I was so excited at the prospect of a new queen. I did mount my horse, and in disguise, I did ride all the way to Kent, to the city of Rochester, to the great castle at Rochester, and there I did behold, for the very first time, my wife-to-be, and I did look at her, and I did think, she is not as I had been told. She was not as she did appear in Holbein's picture. She, in truth, was ugly. Cromwell, 'twas your doing, aye, this marriage to Cleves. I did ask you, did I not, to stay the wedding? For I could not marry this ugly Flanders mare. But you said, nay, sire, nay, all is correct, all is tight. There is no means of avoiding the marriage. And thus, Cromwell, I was obliged to do that which I did not wish. I was obliged to marry the ugly Flanders mare. And my blood did boil. 'Tis true, Cromwell. You did serve me well. Whence your master, Wolsey, did fall, for he did fail me, aye. You, Cromwell, did come into my service. My father, King Henry VII of that name, had made it policy to raise up men of base and lowly degree, for he did find that those fellows did oft give of better service. For this realm of England is riven by great lords and dukes and earls, all of which do seek preferments, all of which do profess to wish to serve their king and this mine realm. But in truth, these great people, these great families, they only seek preferment for the advancement of themselves and their families, whereas fellows of base degree are grateful for what they receive. Thus it was with Thomas Wolsey, he a butcher's son from Suffolk, Thomas More, a mere solicitor's son from London, and you, Cromwell, a blacksmith's son, a brewer's son from the muddy banks of the Thames at Putney. I did take you into my service, and you, sir, you did become the king's great fixer. 'Twas you, sir, who did arrange the marriage to Boleyn. 'Twas you, sir, who did end the marriage to Boleyn. It is you, sir, who did initiate the dissolution of those corrupt holy houses. 'Tis you, sir, who did so much for the betterment of this mine realm, weights and measures and coinage and all manner of laws. And for this sign you were rewarded, were you not? Master of the Rolls, Chancellor of the Exchequer, then elevated to the peerage, Baron, Baron Cromwell of Wimbledon, and thence Earl of Essex, Knight of the Garter, etc., etc., etc. 'Tis true, you did serve me well. You did many things that I, the king, needed doing, often to the detriment of others, and this, sir, is where you did acquire your enemies. And so it was, at the very moment of Cromwell's weakness, for my blood did boil for this marriage to Cleves. One time, in one great matter, you, sir, had let your king down. You had failed me, sir, and thus it was, in this very moment of weakness, that your enemies, those great lords and dukes, bitter at your advancement, bitter at your preferment, bitter at your closeness to your sovereign lord and king, they did conspire against you. So it was, on the 10th of June, in the year of 1540, you, sir, were accused of treason. Numerous crimes against your king, numerous crimes against the realm. Treason, treason! And by the law of this land, your treason was so great, your treason was so profound, that by a writ of attainder, by act of Parliament, you, sir, you were sentenced to die, to have your head struck from your body. I'm told that you had often commented that when the end comes, you hoped it would be quick. And it was upon this date, the 28th of July, in the year of 1540, on the very day that I did take as my 5th wife in exchange for that ugly Flanders mare, I did take Catherine Howard in lawful wedlock. On the date I did marry was the day you did die. Right up to the last, right up to the very last, I did have your letter sent to me from the Tower that did end with your pleas for mercy, 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 read to me once more. But no, you were a traitor. And thus you did take that journey, that bloody path, that well-worn path from the Tower to Tower Hill, where upon the scaffold place your head upon the block, and your head was to be struck off. I'm told the executioner did make a mess of the execution. Upwards of 2 or 3 blows to sever your head. And thus died that great upstart, the peasant raised high, the Lord high and mighty Cromwell, the brewer's boy, the blacksmith's boy. And yet, when I'm asked by those cheeky fellows, those saucy fellows, those naughty fellows, of my regrets, yes, I have regrets. I now know that I was given the lie against Cromwell, that he was no traitor, that those great lords had conspired against the best servant a king ever had. I now know that Cromwell, he was the man for getting the work done. I miss Cromwell. I regret Cromwell. For the subscriber giveaway. The competition is open to all subscribers, old and new alike. Once I reach 250 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I will choose one of those subscribers at random out of that 250 to receive a special prize. The prize is made up of this delightful figure, somebody you may recognise. Together with this prize of this delightful figure, there'll be a selection of merchandise from my theatre show, Divorced, Beheaded, Died. The competition is open to all loyal subjects, where they may be across the globe. All you have to do to have a chance of winning is to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the link below. So whether you've been subscribing to my YouTube channel since the beginning, or whether you have just subscribed, you all have an equal chance of winning this wonderful prize. And so, good luck, and thank you all, my loyal and most well-beloved subjects, for your continued support. Cheers.